Get on the ground now. A 20-year-old woman hit the floor face first. 4 military police pinned her arms behind her back. 50 officers watched. Phones recorded. Someone laughed. Impersonating a SEAL. The lieutenant commander spit the words like venom. This child thinks she's one of us. She didn't struggle, didn't cry, didn't beg. She just looked up at him with eyes that had seen things he couldn't imagine, and said 5 words that would destroy his career. Call Admiral Catherine Chen. He laughed in her face. 45 minutes later, a 2-star admiral walked through that door, looked at the woman in handcuffs, and saluted her. Before we begin, subscribe and comment your city. You need to see what happens next. The handcuffs clicked shut around her wrists before she could even finish her sentence. Emma Callahan didn't resist. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She simply turned, placed her hands behind her back with the fluid precision of someone who had done this before, and waited. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Pierce grabbed her shoulder and spun her toward the watching crowd. "Take a good look, everyone!" His voice carried across the packed bar with theatrical fury. "This is what stolen valor looks like. A 20-year-old girl playing dress-up with our symbols." Emma met his eyes. Her voice came out flat, controlled. "You're making a mistake, Lieutenant Commander." "The only mistake here is yours, sweetheart." He shoved her forward. She didn't stumble. Her feet moved with the balanced grace of an athlete absorbing the force without breaking stride. Master Chief Robert Quinn watched from his position near the bar. 26 years in naval special warfare had taught him to read people the way most folks read newspapers. And something about this young woman made the hair on his arms stand up. She moved wrong. Not wrong like a civilian. Wrong like someone who had trained their body to become a weapon and was actively suppressing every instinct that training had built. "Pierce," Quinn called out. "Maybe we should wait for... With respect, Master Chief, I've got this handled." Pierce's jaw was set. His eyes gleamed with the righteous certainty of a man who believed he was defending sacred ground. "This fraud walked into our house, our club, wearing dog tags she didn't earn, carrying a challenge coin she probably bought on eBay." Lieutenant Marcus Webb stepped forward, his phone already recording. "Got the whole thing documented, sir. Stolen valor. Clear as day." "Did anyone actually ask her for verification?" Quinn pressed. "I don't need verification." Pierce held up the challenge coin he'd torn from Emma's neck. "Look at this thing. Strange markings. Weird numbers. PH8061719. That's not any unit designation I've ever seen." Quinn's blood ran cold. He recognized those markings. He didn't know what they meant exactly, but he'd seen that prefix before. Once. 7 years ago. On a coin carried by a man who officially didn't exist, doing work that officially never happened. "Pierce," Quinn said slowly. "Put the coin down. Now." "What? Put it down and step away from her." Pierce laughed. "Master Chief, I appreciate your concern, but this isn't your call. We caught a faker. Simple as that." Petty Officer Jason Cole circled Emma like a predator, sizing up prey. "You know what I think? I think she saw those documentaries about female integration, got all inspired, bought herself some gear, and thought she'd come impress the real operators." Emma's eyes tracked him. Just her eyes. Her head didn't move. Her body remained perfectly still, but those eyes followed every step he took with the focused awareness of someone calculating threat angles. "How old are you, sweetheart?" Cole asked. 1920. 20. 20. He snorted. 4 years ago you were what in high school prom cheerleading? I was in Pakistan. The words landed like a grenade. Pierce stopped moving. Webb's phone dipped slightly. Cole's smirk froze on his face. "Excuse me." Pierce stepped closer. "You're claiming you were in Pakistan at 16. I'm not claiming anything. You asked a question. I answered it." "That's ridiculous. That's—" Pierce shook his head. "She's committed to the story, boys. I'll give her that. Even makes up deployments to sound legit." Captain Victoria Stone arrived with 4 MPs at her back. She was known throughout the base for 2 things: running a tight command and having 0 tolerance for people who wasted her time on Friday nights. "Someone want to explain why I'm here instead of home with my husband? Stolen valor situation, Captain." Pierce gestured at Emma. This individual entered the officers' club wearing military identification, carrying a challenge coin, and claiming classified service. She's been unable to provide any documentation. Stone approached Emma with the measured stride of someone who had conducted 1,000 interrogations. Her eyes swept from Emma's short hair to her plain gray t-shirt, to the dog tags still hanging from her broken chain. "Name: Emma Rose Callahan. Date of birth: March 3rd, 2005. Stone's eyebrow rose. "That makes you 20 years old." "Yes, ma'am." "And you're claiming military service." "I served in the United States Navy, honorably discharged 8 months ago. At 19, Stone's voice dripped skepticism. "What was your rate?" "I'm not authorized to discuss my rate or unit designation without proper clearance verification from Naval Special Warfare Command." Pierce threw his hands up. "There it is. The classic line, 'My service is classified.' That's what every faker says, Captain. They can't provide details because the details don't exist." Stone held up a hand for silence. "Ms. Callahan, I'm going to ask you one more time. What was your military occupation?" Emma's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Contact Rear Admiral Catherine Chen at Naval Special Warfare Command. She can verify my status." The room erupted. Webb lowered his phone, laughing. "Did she just name-drop a Rear Admiral? A female Rear Admiral," Cole added. "Probably figured she'd seem more believable." "She's asking for the commanding officer of the entire Female Integration Initiative," Pierce said. "Like Admiral Chen personally knows some random 20-year-old. But Quinn wasn't laughing. Admiral Catherine Chen. He knew that name. Everyone in the Special Operations community knew that name. She wasn't just the head of female integration, she was the most decorated female officer in Naval Special Warfare history, and she didn't suffer fools. If this girl was lying, invoking Chen's name was suicide. But if she wasn't lying... "Captain Stone." Quinn stepped forward. "Request permission to make a phone call before we proceed." "Master Chief, we have sufficient probable cause. The suspect has failed to provide documentation, is carrying items that appear to be military memorabilia, and multiple witnesses heard her make claims about classified service." "What specific claims?" The question came from Sergeant First Class Maria Santos, an Army Ranger liaison, who had wandered over from the memorial service next door. Her weathered face showed nothing but professional curiosity. "I heard Lieutenant Commander Pierce making accusations. I didn't hear the suspect claiming anything." "She said she was in Pakistan," Cole argued. "In response to a direct question," Santos countered. "Did she approach anyone? Did she introduce herself as an operator? Did she volunteer any information about her alleged service?" Pierce's face reddened. "She was wearing dog tags in our club. That's statement enough. Dog tags that could be from a family member, or legitimately hers from actual service." Santos studied Emma with the careful assessment of someone who had learned to separate truth from deception in combat zones. "You're making a lot of assumptions, Lieutenant Commander. With respect, Sergeant, this isn't an Army matter. With respect, Lieutenant Commander, false accusations are everyone's matter." Emma stood motionless through the exchange. Her eyes moved between speakers tracking the conversation, but her expression remained locked in that unsettling calm. The handcuffs behind her back might as well have been bracelets for all the discomfort she showed. Stone made her decision. We're taking her in for questioning. If she can't provide verification through proper channels, we proceed with charges. If she can, we release her with apologies. She nodded to her MPs. Transport her to the station. Wait. An elderly woman pushed through the crowd. Her white hair was styled simply her black dress, marking her as one of the mourners from the memorial service. A gold star pin glinted on her collar. Helen Torres stopped directly in front of Emma. Young lady. Her voice cracked with emotion. Thank you for coming to Daniel's service. I saw you sitting in the back, alone. You were crying. Something flickered behind Emma's eyes, the first crack in her composure since the confrontation began. Ma'am, my son talked about you. Helen reached out and touched Emma's cheek with a trembling hand. He never said your name. Couldn't say your name. But he described you. The youngest one, he called you. The bravest one. Pierce stepped forward. Ma'am, this woman is a fraud. She's using your grief to— Don't you dare tell me what I know about my own son. Helen's eyes blazed with sudden fury. Daniel Torres served 30 years in special warfare. Master Chief. 3 combat deployments. He knew warriors when he saw them. She turned back to Emma. He said you saved his life. Emma's voice came out rough. He saved mine first, multiple times. He said you were the future, said operators like you would change everything. Ma'am, I'm sorry. Emma's composure was cracking now, tears threatening at the edges of her eyes. I'm sorry I couldn't save him from what came after. PTSD isn't something anyone can save someone from, child. Helen pulled her into an awkward embrace, made difficult by the handcuffs. He held on for 18 months after that last deployment. 18 months of fighting. And when he couldn't fight anymore, he went on his own terms. Pierce grabbed Emma's arm. This is touching, but we're done here. Captain Stone, let's move. Take your hand off her. Helen's voice turned to ice. Right now. Ma'am, with all due respect, you don't have authority here. And you don't have any idea what you're doing. Helen turned to face the watching crowd. My son served this country for 3 decades. He gave everything. Everything. And in his final months, he told me about a young woman who changed his understanding of what was possible. A girl barely out of high school who could outshoot, outfight, and outthink men twice her age. That's impossible, Webb said. The integration program didn't accept anyone under— There are programs you don't know about, Lieutenant. Helen's eyes bore into his. Programs that don't officially exist. For people who don't officially exist. My son was part of one. And so was she. Quinn's phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at the screen and his face went pale. The text was from an unknown number. Stand down. Higher authority en route. ETA 20 minutes. He'd made a call 20 minutes ago, to a number he'd been told to use only in genuine emergencies. Someone had answered. Captain Stone? His voice cut through the murmur of the crowd. I strongly advise we delay transport until proper verification can be completed. On what grounds? On grounds that we may be making a catastrophic error. Pierce laughed. You're buying into this, Master Chief, this kid and her sob story. I'm buying into 30 years of experience that tells me something is very wrong with this picture. Quinn stepped between Emma and the MPs. Look at her, Pierce. Really look. Have you ever seen a fraud stand like that? Have you ever seen a faker maintain that kind of composure under pressure? She's a good actress. She's not acting. Quinn turned to Emma. Young lady, those numbers on your coin. PH8 061719. What do they mean? Emma met his eyes. Phantom Unit 8, June 17th, 2019. The date of initial activation. The color drained from Quinn's face. Phantom Unit 8. He'd heard whispers, rumors that lived in the shadowy corners of the special operations community. A unit so classified that even acknowledging its existence was a federal crime. A unit that recruited exceptional individuals outside normal channels. A unit that did work so dark, so necessary, that it would never see the light of day. That unit doesn't exist, Pierce scoffed. No, Quinn said quietly. It doesn't, officially. Oh, come on. You're not actually… Pierce. Quinn's voice went sharp. Shut up. The lieutenant commander's jaw dropped. Excuse me. I said shut up. Whatever's about to happen in the next 20 minutes, you want to be standing there with your mouth closed. Trust me on this. Stone stepped forward. Master Chief, what's going on? I made a phone call, Captain, to verify some suspicions. The response I received suggests we should all be very quiet and very patient until higher authority arrives. Higher authority? What higher authority? Quinn looked at Emma. She met his gaze with those steady brown eyes, and for the first time he saw something other than calm behind them. He saw gratitude. The kind of authority that makes admirals nervous, Captain. The kind that operates above normal chains of command. He paused. The kind that creates units like Phantom 8. The next 15 minutes felt like hours. The crowd dispersed, slowly pushed back by MPs to the edges of the bar, but no one left. The energy in the room had shifted from predatory excitement to uncertain tension. Even Pierce had gone quiet, though his expression made clear he wasn't convinced. Emma remained standing in the center of the room, still handcuffed, still motionless. But something in her posture had changed. The coiled readiness had softened into patient waiting, like a soldier who'd been told reinforcements were coming. Webb sidled up to Pierce. Sir, maybe we should… Don't. Pierce's jaw was tight. Whatever's happening, we made the right call. She couldn't provide documentation. She claimed classified service that sounds like fantasy. If some brass shows up and verifies her, fine. We apologize. But we followed protocol. Did we, though? Cole's voice was uncertain now. I mean, we didn't exactly give her a chance to… She had every chance. She chose to play games. Santos appeared at Quinn's elbow. Master Chief, those numbers she mentioned. PH8 0617 19. What about them? In June 2019, there was an incident in the South China Sea. Officially, it never happened. 12 American contractors were kidnapped by a rogue military faction. Officially, they were never rescued. Quinn's stomach dropped. Unofficially, a team of 8 operators penetrated denied territory and extracted all 12 hostages without a single casualty. The operation was so clean, so precise, that intelligence agencies on 3 continents spent months trying to figure out what had happened. Santos paused. The rumor was that the team included elements that defied conventional special operations doctrine. Elements like what? Like operators who were recruited and trained outside normal channels, like individuals who were selected for specific genetic and psychological traits, like… She glanced at Emma. Like exceptional young people who could do things most adults couldn't. The Prodigy Protocol. Santos nodded slowly. I thought it was a myth. A story that operators told each other to explain capabilities that didn't make sense. So did I. The door opened. Every head in the room turned. A woman entered, late 50s, silver hair cut short in a practical style. She wore a Navy uniform with so many ribbons and medals that the weight of them should have bowed her shoulders. But she walked with the confident stride of someone who had earned every single one through blood and sacrifice. Behind her came two men, a captain with the strained expression of someone who had been pulled from a very important dinner, and a Marine lieutenant colonel who moved with the coiled readiness of a combat veteran. The woman's eyes swept the room. They passed over Stone, over Pierce, over Quinn and Santos and the MPs. They lingered for just a moment on Helen Torres, who still stood near Emma with protective fury in her posture. Then they landed on Emma Callahan, and Rear Admiral Catherine Chen came to attention. In 26 years of Naval Special Warfare service, Robert Quinn had never seen anything like it. A Rear Admiral, 2 stars, saluting a 20-year-old girl in civilian clothes who was still wearing handcuffs. "Petty Officer Callahan." Chen's voice filled the room with quiet authority. "It's an honor." Emma couldn't return the salute with her hands bound behind her back. But she straightened slightly, her chin lifting with the reflex of someone responding to command authority. "Admiral, thank you for coming." Pierce made a strangled sound. Webb dropped his phone. Cole sat down heavily on the nearest chair, all the blood draining from his face. And Captain Victoria Stone, who had spent 15 years building a reputation for unshakable composure, began to tremble. "Get those handcuffs off her," Chen said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of absolute command. "Now!" Stone's hands shook so badly she could barely work the key. When the cuffs finally fell away, Emma rubbed her wrists with the absent gesture of someone who had done it before. Many times. Chen approached her. Up close, the age difference between them was stark. Chen with her silver hair and weathered face. Emma with her youth still evident in every line of her features. But something in the way they looked at each other suggested a connection that transcended years. "Are you injured?" "No, ma'am. Just my pride." A ghost of a smile crossed Chen's face. "Your pride will survive. It always does." She turned to face the room. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. "My name is Rear Admiral Catherine Chen. I am the commanding officer of Naval Special Warfare's Strategic Integration Division. And in the next 10 minutes I'm going to explain to everyone present exactly how badly they have just failed their country." She picked up the challenge coin from where Pierce had dropped it on a nearby table. This coin was issued to 8 individuals who participated in Operation Silent Harbor, a mission that officially never happened, in a location that doesn't officially exist, against an enemy that has never been publicly acknowledged. She held up the coin so everyone could see it. Petty Officer First Class Emma Callahan was one of those 8 operators. She served as primary breacher and combat medic for Phantom Unit 8. She was 19 years old during that operation. Chen's voice hardened. "And she is more of a warrior than anyone else in this room." Pierce found his voice. "Admiral, with respect, that's impossible. She's 20. She would have been 16 when she completed accelerated qualification training, yes." Chen cut him off with a glance. Petty Officer Callahan was recruited at age 14 under a classified program designed to identify exceptional individuals for specialized service. She completed her training at 16. Her first deployment was at 17. The silence that followed was absolute. In the past 4 years, she has participated in 11 classified operations across 6 theaters. She has saved the lives of 23 American service members and 64 foreign nationals. She has sustained injuries that would have ended most careers. Chen paused. And tonight she came here to honor Master Chief Daniel Torres, her team leader and mentor, who lost his battle with PTSD last month. Helen Torres let out a small sob. She came quietly, privately, to mourn a man who trained her, protected her, and believed in her when others doubted. Chen's eyes swept the room. And you arrested her for it. The Admiral turned to Pierce. Her expression could have frozen the Pacific. Lieutenant Commander Pierce, you publicly accused a decorated combat veteran of federal crimes. You assaulted a superior officer. You humiliated a young woman who has done more for this country in 4 years than you will accomplish in 20. Pierce's mouth opened. Nothing came out. You live-streamed accusations of fraud against someone whose service record is classified at levels you cannot imagine. You created a public relations nightmare that will require weeks to contain. And you did all of this because you looked at a young woman and decided based on nothing but her age and her gender that she couldn't possibly be what she claimed to be. Chen stepped closer. Her voice dropped to something almost gentle, which somehow made it worse. You saw a 20-year-old girl. You should have seen a warrior. Pierce's legs gave out. He sat down heavily, his face gray, his hands shaking. Emma stepped forward. Her voice was quiet, but clear. Lieutenant Commander. Pierce looked up at her with the expression of a man watching his career burn. I don't need your apology, Emma said. What happened tonight hurt, but I've survived worse. What I need is for you to remember this moment the next time you encounter a young woman claiming military service, the next time you see someone who doesn't match your expectations of what an operator should look like. She paused. Because the woman you dismiss might be the one standing between you and a bullet someday. She might be the one pulling you out of a burning vehicle or carrying you to safety through hostile territory. She might be the one saving your life while you're still deciding whether she belongs. Emma looked at Webb, at Cole, at all the faces that had mocked her, filmed her, tried to destroy her. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm not asking you to lower your standards. I'm asking you to open your eyes, to see warriors instead of stereotypes, to judge by performance instead of appearance. Her voice hardened slightly. And to think twice before you humiliate someone based on assumptions you never bothered to verify. The silence stretched. Then Helen Torres stepped forward and wrapped Emma in a fierce embrace. Daniel would be so proud of you, child, so proud. Emma's composure finally cracked. The tears she had been holding back all night began to fall, as she returned the embrace, holding on to the mother of her fallen mentor like she was the only solid thing in a world that had just been turned upside down. And across the room, Master Chief Robert Quinn watched with tears in his own eyes, thinking about all the young warriors, male and female, who had stood where Emma stood tonight. Accused, doubted, dismissed. Wondering how many of them had walked away without an admiral showing up to save them. Wondering how many real heroes had been broken by moments exactly like this one. The watch continued. It always did. But tonight at least one of them had been vindicated. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the moment like a blade. Petty Officer Callahan, we need to talk. Privately. Emma pulled back from Helen's embrace, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. The vulnerability that had cracked through her composure disappeared as quickly as it had come. She nodded once. Yes, ma'am. Chen turned to Captain Stone. I need your interrogation room. Now. Admiral, the investigation is still. There is no investigation, Captain. There never was. What there was a group of officers who assaulted and falsely imprisoned a decorated combat veteran. Chen's eyes were steel. The only investigation happening now is the one into their conduct. Stone's face went gray, and understood, Admiral. The walk to the interrogation room felt endless. Emma moved beside Chen with the matched stride of someone who had walked alongside commanding officers countless times. Pierce, Webb, and Cole were ordered to remain in the bar under MP supervision. Their careers hung by threads, and everyone knew it. Quinn followed at a respectful distance. Santos fell into step beside him. Master Chief, she said quietly. What the hell is Phantom Unit 8? I don't know, and something tells me we're not supposed to. The interrogation room was small and harsh. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A metal table sat in the center with chairs on either side. Chen gestured for Emma to sit, then took the chair across from her. Everyone else out. Admiral, the base commander started. Regulations require. I said out. They left. The door closed with a heavy click. Chen studied Emma for a long moment, her expression unreadable. You could have identified yourself earlier. Prevented all of this. How? Emma's voice was flat. By revealing classified information to drunk officers in a bar, by compromising operational security to win an argument, by calling me before things escalated. I did call you, through proper channels, through the request I made to Captain Stone. Emma met Chen's eyes. I followed protocol, Admiral. I maintained cover. I did everything I was trained to do. Chen leaned back. Yes, you did. And that's what worries me. Ma'am, 4 years ago I recruited a 14-year-old girl who had just lost both parents in a car accident. She had no family, no connections, nothing tying her to civilian life. What she did have was an IQ of 167 physical capabilities that defied testing parameters and a psychological profile that suggested she could handle things most adults couldn't. Emma's jaw tightened. I told her the work would be hard. I told her she would sacrifice everything. I told her she would carry secrets that would isolate her from every normal human connection. Chen paused. What I didn't tell her was that the hardest part wouldn't be the missions. It would be moments like tonight. Moments when the world would look at her and see a fraud instead of a warrior. I handled it. You shouldn't have had to. Chen's voice softened. Emma, when did you last talk to someone, really talk, not mission briefings or operational debriefs? Actual human conversation. Emma didn't answer. When did you last have a friend, a relationship? Any connection that wasn't based on classified work? Silence. That's what I thought. Chen reached across the table and took Emma's hand. You're 20 years old. You've accomplished more than officers twice your age, but you're also alone in ways that would break most people. And tonight that loneliness almost cost you everything. Emma pulled her hand back. I'm fine, Admiral. You're not fine. You're functional. There's a difference. Chen stood and moved to the door. We're not done with this conversation. But right now we have a more immediate problem. She opened the door. Lieutenant Colonel James Park entered, his expression grim. Admiral, we have a situation. The video went viral before we could contain it. 4 million views and climbing. Every military blog and social media platform is dissecting the footage. Emma closed her eyes. The narrative is split, Park continued. Half the internet is calling Petty Officer Callahan a fraud who fooled a gullible admiral. The other half is demanding to know why a decorated veteran was humiliated in public. Either way, her face is everywhere. Her name is everywhere. Her cover is blown. Chen's jaw tightened. Options. Limited. We can release a statement confirming her legitimate service without revealing specifics. That might quiet the fraud accusations but will invite deeper investigation into her background. Which leads to Phantom 8. Eventually, yes. Emma opened her eyes. Or I do an interview. Both Chen and Park turned to look at her. Control the narrative, Emma said quietly. Give them enough truth to satisfy curiosity without compromising operational security. A sanitized version. Former Navy. Classified service. Wrong place, wrong time. Case closed. That puts your face on national television, Chen said. Permanently. My face is already on 4 million phones. The question isn't whether I'm exposed. The question is whether I control what that exposure means. Park exchanged a glance with Chen. She's not wrong, Admiral. Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was heavy with something that might have been regret. I wanted to protect you from this. All of this. The Prodigy Protocol was supposed to create operators who could exist in shadows, do the work that needed doing, then disappear back into normal life when they were done. And she shook her head. I never considered what would happen when the shadows rejected them. Emma stood. I don't need protection, Admiral. I need to finish what I started. What you started? Daniel Torres is dead. 18 months of PTSD and the system failed him. Phantom 8 saved 12 lives in Silent Harbor, but nobody knows. Nobody learns from it. Nobody changes. Emma's voice hardened. If my exposure means that changes, then maybe tonight wasn't a disaster. Maybe it was an opportunity. An opportunity for what? To show them what we can do, what women can do, what young people can do when someone gives them a chance instead of assuming they can't. Chen studied her for a long moment. Something shifted in the Admiral's expression. A decision being made. Park, contact 60 Minutes. Tell them we're open to an interview. Ma'am, on our terms, pre-approved questions, final review of footage. Nothing that compromises security. Chen looked at Emma. But if we're doing this, we're doing it right. You're going to tell your story. And the world is going to listen. The next morning came too fast. Emma had slept in a secure location on base, her mind racing with everything that had happened and everything that was about to happen. The interview was scheduled for the following week. But first there was unfinished business. Chen met her in a briefing room with coffee and a folder. Disciplinary proceedings begin today, the Admiral said. Pierce, Webb, and Cole are facing formal charges. Stone has submitted her resignation. Commander Hartley, the JAG officer who conducted your interrogation, is being transferred. Emma wrapped her hands around the coffee cup. That's not what I wanted. It's not about what you wanted. It's about accountability. They made choices. Those choices have consequences. Pierce was drunk. He thought he was protecting the community. He thought wrong, and being drunk isn't an excuse, it's an aggravating factor. Chen opened the folder. There's something else. We received a request from the Torres family. Daniel's sister wants to speak with you. Emma's throat tightened. Maria. She knows you served with Daniel. She knows you were there when it happened. Chen slid a phone number across the table. She wants to thank you. For what I couldn't save him. For giving him 18 more months. For being with him during the mission that broke him. For coming to his memorial when no one would have known if you hadn't. Chen's voice softened. She's not looking for a hero, Emma. She's looking for someone who loved her brother, too. Emma stared at the phone number. Her hand trembled slightly as she picked it up. Take your time. Make the call when you're ready. The call came 3 hours later. Emma sat alone in a small office, the phone pressed to her ear, her heart pounding. Hello? The voice on the other end was warm, despite the grief that weighted it. Mrs. Santos, this is Emma Callahan. A sharp intake of breath. Emma. God, I never thought I'd actually get to talk to you. Admiral Chen gave me your number. I'm sorry I didn't reach out sooner. I didn't know if we wanted to hear from you. Maria's voice cracked. Emma, we've been waiting 18 months to talk to someone who knew what really happened, what Daniel really did. The official reports told us nothing, just words, empty words about service and sacrifice. I'm not sure how much I can. I'm not asking for classified details. I'm asking about my brother, the man, not the mission. Was he okay? Before it went wrong. Emma closed her eyes. The memories flooded back. Daniel Torres laughing at a bad joke during transit. Daniel Torres checking her gear with the careful attention of a mentor who genuinely cared. Daniel Torres shielding her with his body when the ambush started. "He was the best of us," Emma said softly. "He led from the front. He protected everyone on his team. He made us believe we could do the impossible. And then the mission went sideways. We were extracted, but not before." Emma's voice caught. "He took shrapnel meant for me, pushed me out of the way and caught it in his shoulder. It wasn't a fatal wound, but something changed in him after that. Like the physical injury opened a door to something deeper." Maria was crying now. Emma could hear it in her breathing. "The last thing he said to me in the field was, 'Get her out.' He was talking about the hostage I was carrying, but he was looking at me when he said it." Emma wiped her own eyes. "He saved my life, Mrs. Santos. He saved everyone's life, and I hate that I couldn't save his." "You did save him. You gave him 18 more months. 18 months of watching his daughter grow. 18 months of dinners with family. 18 months of life he wouldn't have had without you. It wasn't enough. It was everything. Don't you dare tell yourself it wasn't enough." Maria's voice steadied. "Emma, Daniel talked about you. Not by name, never by name. But he described you. The youngest one, he called you. The bravest one. He said you were going to change everything." Emma couldn't speak. "He believed in you. And now I need you to believe in yourself. Can you do that for him?" "I'll try." "Don't try. Do. That's what Daniel would say." Maria paused. "When you do that interview, when you tell your story, remember that you're not just speaking for yourself. You're speaking for everyone like Daniel. Everyone who served in shadows and came home broken. Everyone who sacrificed everything and got nothing in return but empty words and folded flags." "Yes, ma'am." "And Emma, thank you. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for honoring his memory. Thank you for being worth saving." The call ended. Emma sat in the empty office for a long time, letting the tears fall freely, grieving for Daniel Torres and for all the others who hadn't made it home. 3 days later, the disciplinary hearings concluded. Pierce was discharged from the Navy with other than honorable conditions. His career was over. His reputation was destroyed. The man who had walked into the officers' club that night with arrogant certainty walked out of the hearing room with nothing. Webb received a formal reprimand and mandatory sensitivity training. His promotion prospects were dead, but he would be allowed to finish his current tour. Cole was suspended for 6 months. His service record would carry the stain forever. Stone's resignation was accepted. She would receive none of the honors typically accorded a retiring MP commander. Emma watched from a distance as Pierce left the building. His shoulders were slumped. His eyes were hollow. The swagger that had defined him was gone. He saw her standing there and stopped. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. The accuser and the accused. The man whose certainty had destroyed him and the woman whose truth had vindicated her. "I'm sorry." His voice was barely audible. "I know that doesn't mean anything. I know it doesn't change what I did. But I'm sorry." Emma nodded slowly. "I believe you. I lost everything. My career, my reputation, my future. You lost consequences. There's a difference." Pierce flinched like she had slapped him. "I didn't want this outcome," Emma continued. "I didn't want anyone's career destroyed. But you made choices, Lieutenant Commander. You decided that a 20-year-old woman couldn't possibly be what she claimed. You decided that humiliating someone in public was more important than verifying facts. You decided that your assumptions mattered more than my reality. I know." Because in 3 weeks I'm going to sit in front of a camera and tell my story. And when I do, I'm going to talk about this night, not to destroy you further, but to make sure the next officer who encounters someone like me stops and thinks before they act. Pierce's eyes glistened. I understand. Learn from this. That's all I ask. Learn and be better. She turned and walked away. Behind her, Ryan Pierce stood in the parking lot and watched her go, knowing that the young woman he had tried to destroy had just offered him something he didn't deserve. Grace. The interview preparation consumed the next week. Chen worked with Emma and a media team to craft answers that revealed enough to satisfy public curiosity without compromising operational security. They practiced questions. They rehearsed responses. They anticipated challenges and prepared deflections. But through it all, Emma kept returning to one thought. Daniel Torres had believed in her. Maria Santos had challenged her to believe in herself. And somewhere out there, 3 young women were fighting through SEAL training, wondering if it was possible for someone like them to make it. On the day before the interview, Emma asked Chen for a favor. I want to meet them, the women in Buds, privately off the record. Chen considered the request. Why? Because I wish someone had met with me before I started. Someone who had been through it. Someone who could tell me what to expect and how to survive. Emma paused. They're going to face what I faced, but without the classified status to fall back on. They'll be visible, vulnerable. Every failure will be public. Every success will be questioned. They need to know it's possible. And you can tell them that I can show them. The meeting happened that evening. Sarah Chen, Jessica Williams, Michelle Rodriguez, 3 young women ranging from 19 to 21, currently in the first phase of BUDES training. They entered the briefing room exhausted, bruised, and clearly confused about why they had been summoned. Then they saw Emma, and recognition flickered across their faces. You're the woman from the video, Sarah said. The one who got arrested. Yes. And you actually served? Yes. Jessica studied her with the calculating assessment of someone learning to read threats. How old were you when you started? 14 when I was recruited, 16 when I qualified, 17 for my first deployment. Michelle let out a low whistle. That's impossible. That's what everyone said. They were wrong. Emma gestured for them to sit. I'm not going to lie to you. What you're attempting is brutal. The physical training is designed to break you. The psychological pressure is designed to crush you. And on top of all that, you're going to face discrimination that your male classmates will never experience. We know, Sarah said quietly. You know intellectually. But knowing and experiencing are different things. There will be moments when you want to quit. Moments when every fiber of your being screams that this isn't worth it. Moments when the isolation feels like it will swallow you whole. So why did you keep going? Jessica asked. Emma considered the question. Because quitting meant proving everyone right. Every person who said women couldn't do this. Every officer who looked at me and saw a liability instead of an asset. Every voice that told me I didn't belong. She paused. I kept going because surrender was worse than suffering. And now, Michelle pressed, after everything you've been through, was it worth it? Emma thought about Daniel Torres, about the 12 hostages she had helped rescue, about the operations that would never be acknowledged and the lives that had been saved by work that officially never happened. Yes, she said simply. It was worth everything. The conversation lasted 2 hours. Emma shared what she could about training survival strategies, about managing physical pain, about building mental resilience. She warned them about the isolation they would face and encouraged them to support each other. When they finally left, Sarah lingered at the door. Ma'am, Thank you for everything you said, but also for what you didn't say. What do you mean? You didn't promise it would get easier. You didn't tell us everything would be fine. You told us the truth. Sarah straightened slightly. That's what we needed. Not comfort. Truth. Emma nodded. Then remember this truth too. If you make it through, and some of you will, you're not just earning a place for yourselves. You're opening a door for everyone who comes after. Every woman, every young person, every warrior who doesn't fit the expected mold. We won't let you down. You can't let me down. The only person you can let down is yourself. So don't. Sarah left. Emma stood alone in the empty briefing room, thinking about doors and legacies, and all the young warriors who would walk through openings that people like her had created. Daniel Torres had believed in her. Now it was her turn to believe in them. The morning of the interview arrived with the weight of a pending storm. Emma sat in a small preparation room, her hands steady even as her heart raced. The 60 Minutes crew had been setting up for hours. Jennifer Walsh, the producer, had gone over the questions 3 times. Everything was controlled. Everything was planned. And still Emma felt like she was about to jump from a plane without knowing if her parachute would open. Chen entered without knocking. Ready? No. Good. If you felt ready, I'd be worried. The Admiral sat down across from her. 20 million people are going to watch this interview. That's 20 million opinions being formed about you, about women in special operations, about everything we've built. You're not helping. I'm not trying to help. I'm trying to prepare you. Chen leaned forward. The questions are approved. The boundaries are set. But Walsh is a professional. She'll push, she'll probe, she'll look for cracks. I don't have cracks. Everyone has cracks, Emma. The question is whether you can keep them from showing. A knock on the door. A production assistant poked her head in. 5 minutes. Chen stood. Remember why you're doing this. Not for fame, not for recognition. For every young woman who needs to see that someone like them made it through. Emma nodded once. The interview set was smaller than she expected. 2 chairs facing each other, cameras positioned at careful angles, lights that felt like interrogation beams. Walsh sat waiting, her silver hair perfectly styled, her expression professionally warm. Ms. Callahan, thank you for agreeing to this. Thank you for the opportunity. Shall we begin? Emma took her seat. The cameras rolled. 2 weeks ago, you were arrested at Naval Base Norfolk for stolen valor. Tonight, you're here as a confirmed veteran with classified service. Walk us through what happened. Emma kept her voice steady. I attended a memorial service for a fallen service member. Some individuals at the venue made assumptions about my background. Those assumptions led to accusations. Once proper authorities verified my service, the situation was resolved. But it wasn't just a misunderstanding, was it? You were handcuffed, interrogated, publicly humiliated. The video has been viewed over 12 million times. The video shows what assumptions look like in action. People decided based on my age and gender that I couldn't possibly be what I claimed. They were wrong. Walsh shifted slightly. You were 20 years old at the time of the arrest. You claim you began military service at 16. That's extraordinarily young for any form of special operations. Age doesn't determine capability. Performance does. But how is that even possible? Standard enlistment requires you to be 18. SEAL training has never accepted anyone under "there are programs outside standard channels." Emma cut her off carefully. Programs designed to identify exceptional individuals for specialized service. I was recruited into one of those programs at 14. Walsh's eyes sharpened. 14. You're saying the military recruited a child? I'm saying the military identified potential in someone the traditional system would have overlooked. My parents had just died. I had no family, no connections, nothing tying me to civilian life. What I did have was capabilities that tested off the charts. What kind of capabilities? The classified kind. A pause. Walsh regrouped. Admiral Catherine Chen confirmed that you participated in Operation Silent Harbor, a mission involving the rescue of American hostages from a hostile territory. Can you tell us anything about that operation? I can tell you that 12 Americans came home because 8 operators did their jobs. I can tell you that not everyone on my team survived the aftermath. And I can tell you that the work we did will never be publicly acknowledged regardless of what it cost us. What did it cost you personally? Emma was quiet for a moment. Shrapnel wounds to my shoulder and arm, a collapsed lung, a severed artery, 3 surgeries and 8 months of rehabilitation. And psychologically, that's harder to measure. Walsh leaned forward. You mentioned that not everyone on your team survived the aftermath. Can you elaborate? Emma's jaw tightened. The mission itself was successful. 0 casualties during the operation. But the trauma of what we experienced, that followed us home. One of my teammates, my team leader, died last month. PTSD. Master Chief Daniel Torres. Yes. You attended his memorial service. That's why you were at the officers' club that night. He trained me, mentored me, protected me. The least I could do was honor his memory. Walsh was quiet for a beat. Some viewers might wonder why you didn't simply identify yourself when the accusations began. Why endure the arrest when you could have ended it immediately? Because identifying myself would have required revealing classified information. My service, my unit, my operations, all of that is protected by executive order. I took an oath to protect national security. That oath doesn't have exceptions for personal convenience. Even when you were being humiliated in front of dozens of people. Especially then. If I broke protocol to save my ego, what would that say about my commitment to the mission? What would that say about every other operator who maintains cover under pressure? Walsh studied her for a long moment. You're remarkably composed for someone who's been through what you've described. Composure is a skill, like shooting or tactical medicine. You learn it, you practice it, you apply it when necessary. And when it's not necessary, when the cameras are off and no one's watching? Emma didn't answer immediately. The question cut deeper than Walsh probably intended. Then you find ways to cope. Therapy, exercise, work that keeps your hands busy and your mind occupied. She paused. You learn to live with the weight, because putting it down isn't an option. The interview continued for another 40 minutes. Walsh asked about female integration in special operations. Emma spoke about capability over gender. Walsh asked about the future of programs like the one that trained her. Emma deflected with references to ongoing classification requirements, but the moment that would replay across news networks for weeks came near the end. Ms. Callahan, what do you want people to take away from your story? Emma looked directly into the camera. I want them to understand that warriors don't come in standard packaging. We're not all 6'2" men with perfect physiques and aggressive personalities. Some of us are young. Some of us are female. Some of us don't match any expectation you've been taught to have. She paused. But when the mission goes wrong, when lives hang in the balance, when everything depends on someone doing the impossible, the people who answer that call deserve respect. Not because of how they look, not because of how old they are, because of what they're willing to sacrifice. And what are they willing to sacrifice? Everything. Every single thing that makes life normal and comfortable and safe. We give it all up for people who will never know our names, for operations that will never be acknowledged, for a country that will never fully understand what we do in its name." Her voice hardened slightly. "The least that country can do is stop assuming we can't exist." The interview ended. Walsh extended her hand. "That was extraordinary. Truly." Emma shook it automatically. "Thank you. The segment airs next Sunday. 20 million viewers minimum. You're about to become very famous." "I don't want fame." "What do you want?" Emma considered the question. "Change. I want the next young woman who walks into a room claiming military service to be believed until proven otherwise. Not doubted, not mocked, believed." "That's a tall order." "Everything worth doing is." Chen was waiting when Emma emerged. "How do you feel?" "Like I just ran a marathon while being shot at." "That good?" Chen almost smiled. The team reviewed the footage. It's powerful, controlled, but powerful. You walked the line perfectly between revelation and protection. So it's done. The interview is done. What comes after is just beginning. They walked together through empty corridors. The base was quiet this late. Most personnel had gone home. Only essential operations continued. "There's something else we need to discuss," Chen said as they reached her office. "What?" Chen closed the door behind them. Her expression shifted from mentor to commanding officer. "We received a communication 2 hours ago. Encrypted. Priority Alpha." Emma's blood ran cold. Priority Alpha was reserved for one thing. "Phantom 8. Chen nodded slowly. 8 operators are trapped in denied territory. Location classified. Extraction failed. They're requesting specialist support." "What kind of specialist?" "The kind who can infiltrate where traditional assets can't. The kind who can move through environments where being young and female is an advantage rather than a liability." Emma's heart pounded. "You're asking me to go back?" "I'm telling you the situation exists. What you do with that information is your choice." "I'm medically discharged, inactive. I'm not even supposed to know Phantom 8 still operates." "Officially, Phantom 8 doesn't exist. Officially, you never served with them. Officially, this conversation isn't happening." Chen sat down heavily. "Unofficially, 8 people are going to die unless someone answers the call." The weight of those words settled over Emma like a shroud. "Who's trapped?" 4 operators from the current Phantom team, 2 intelligence assets, 2 foreign nationals who assisted previous operations and are now marked for execution by their own government. Extraction timeline. 72 hours before the window closes completely. And traditional assets. Burned. The first extraction team was compromised before they even reached the border. Whatever security exists in that location, it's beyond what our standard operators can penetrate. Emma closed her eyes. 8 lives. 72 hours. A mission that officially couldn't happen, conducted by someone who officially didn't serve. "If I do this and something goes wrong, there's no cavalry, no acknowledgement, no rescue mission for the rescue mission." Chen's voice was heavy. "You'd be completely alone. And if I don't do this, then 8 people die. 4 of them are operators who have done the same work you did, who took the same oaths, who deserve the same chance at survival." Emma opened her eyes. "When do I leave?" Chen stared at her. "You understand what you're agreeing to. You're walking away from everything you've built, the therapy progress, the civilian life, the normalcy you fought so hard to achieve." "I understand. You could die. Not dramatically. Not heroically. Just gone. And no one would ever know what happened." "I understand that too." "Then why?" Chen's voice cracked slightly. Why would you go back after everything it cost you to leave? Emma stood and moved to the window. Outside the base was dark, quiet, peaceful. Everything that her life wasn't. Daniel Torres gave his life to save mine. The 4 teammates I lost in previous operations gave their lives so that I could complete the mission. I carry their sacrifice every single day. She turned to face Chen. If I can honor that sacrifice by saving 8 more people, how is that even a choice? How can I sit in comfort while operators die because no one answered when they called? You've given enough. Have I? Emma shook her head. Because from where I'm standing, I'm 20 years old, with the skills to do something almost no one else can do. And 8 people are counting on someone exactly like me to show up. Chen was silent for a long moment. The briefing materials will be delivered within the hour. You'll have 48 hours to plan and prepare. Insertion is scheduled for Sunday night concurrent with your interview airing. Poetic. Necessary. The media coverage will provide distraction. Everyone will be watching Emma Callahan on their screens, while the real Emma Callahan is somewhere else entirely. Emma nodded slowly. Who else knows about this? You, me, the Joint Special Operations Command Director who authorized the request. Chen paused. And the 8 people waiting for someone to come get them. What are their names? Classified until briefing, but I can tell you this one of them is someone you trained with, someone who completed Phantom qualification the same year you did, someone who has been asking specifically for you. Emma's throat tightened. Sarah. Chen neither confirmed nor denied. Read the briefing materials. Make your preparations. And Emma, yes, whatever happens out there, know that I'm proud of you. Not for the operations, not for the interview, for the person you've become despite everything we put you through. Emma left Chen's office with her mind racing. 8 lives. 72 hours. A mission that would push every skill she had developed to its absolute limit. She should have been terrified. Part of her was. But beneath the fear was something else. Something that felt almost like relief. For 18 months, she had been trying to be normal. Trying to fit into a civilian world that didn't understand her. Trying to pretend that the warrior she had become could somehow transform back into an ordinary person. It couldn't. She wasn't normal. She never had been. And maybe that was okay. Maybe some people weren't meant for peaceful lives and quiet endings. Maybe some people were forged in fire specifically so they could walk into flames when others couldn't. The briefing materials arrived at midnight. Emma spread them across her bed in the secure quarters she'd been assigned. Maps, personnel files, intelligence reports, extraction routes that had already failed, and alternative approaches that hadn't been tried. The location was worse than she expected. Deep in hostile territory, multiple security layers, surveillance technology that could track a mouse from orbit. The 8 trapped individuals were being held in a facility that officially didn't exist, in a country that officially denied their presence by forces that would officially never be held accountable. She studied the personnel files. 4 Phantom operators, 2 intelligence assets, 2 foreign nationals. And there on the 3rd page, a face she recognized. Sarah Martinez, 22 years old. Phantom Unit 8 since 2023, currently listed as compromised and awaiting extraction. Sarah, the woman who had completed qualification training alongside Emma. The woman who had become the closest thing Emma had to a friend in a world where friendship was a security risk. She was one of the 8. Emma's hands trembled as she set down the file. This wasn't just a mission anymore. This was personal. She picked up her phone and dialed a number from memory. It rang twice. "Callahan." The voice on the other end was rough with sleep. "Quinn, I need your help." Master Chief Robert Quinn was silent for a moment. "The mission. You know about it?" "I know enough. I know you're crazy for even considering it." He paused. "And I know you're going to do it anyway. I need equipment, supplies, things that can't be traced." "When?" "Tonight." Another pause. "Meet me at Warehouse 7 in 2 hours. And Emma, yes. Whatever you're walking into, don't die. The world needs people like you, even if it doesn't know it yet." The line went dead. Emma gathered the briefing materials and began to plan. 48 hours, 8 lives, 1 impossible mission. And somewhere out there, Sarah Martinez was counting the minutes until help arrived, or hope ran out completely. Help was coming. Emma Callahan was answering the call. Because that's what operators did. That's what she had been trained to do. That's who she was, no matter how hard she had tried to become someone else. The watch never ended. And right now, 8 people needed her to prove that the sacrifices of everyone who came before Daniel Torres, Lisa Chen, all the fallen warriors who had given everything, meant something. She wouldn't let them down. Quinn was waiting at Warehouse 7 when Emma arrived. The old Master Chief looked like he hadn't slept. His eyes were bloodshot, his jaw set with the grim determination of a man who knew exactly what he was helping facilitate. "You're really doing this?" "I'm really doing this since..." He gestured to a table behind him. Equipment laid out in precise rows. Weapons, communications gear, medical supplies. Everything she would need, and nothing that could be traced. "I called in every favor I had left," Quinn said. "This stuff disappears the moment you walk out that door. No records, no serial numbers, no connection to any official inventory." Emma moved to the table and began checking each item with practiced efficiency. "How did you get all this in 2 hours?" "I've been doing this job for 26 years. You learn who to call and what to say." He paused. "And you learn when something matters enough to risk everything." "Why are you helping me?" Quinn was quiet for a moment. "Because I saw something in you that night at the officers' club. Something I've only seen a handful of times in my career. You stood there while they tore you apart and you never broke. Not once. That kind of discipline doesn't come from training alone. It comes from something deeper." Emma holstered a pistol and checked its weight. "It comes from having nothing left to lose." "No." Quinn shook his head. "It comes from having everything to protect. You're not doing this because you don't care about dying. You're doing this because you care too much about living to let 8 people die when you could save them." She met his eyes. "You sound like Daniel." "Torres was a good man. The best I ever served with." Quinn's voice roughened. "He talked about you, you know, before the PTSD got too bad. Said you were the future of special operations. Said you'd do things the rest of us could only imagine. He gave me too much credit." "Did he? Because from where I'm standing, you're about to do exactly what he predicted. Walk into an impossible situation and find a way to win." Emma finished her equipment check and shouldered her pack. "If I don't come back, don't. Quinn, listen to me. If I don't come back, there's a letter in my quarters. For Admiral Chen. It explains everything I couldn't say out loud. Make sure she gets it." The Master Chief's eyes glistened. "You're coming back. You hear me? You're coming back, and we're going to have a very long conversation about proper mission planning and not going in alone." "I'm not going in alone." "What?" Emma allowed herself a small smile. "You didn't think I'd do this without backup, did you? There's someone meeting me at the insertion point. Someone who knows the territory." "Who?" "Someone who owes me a favor. and someone who's been waiting for a chance to settle an old score. She didn't explain further. There wasn't time. 24 hours, Emma said. If you don't hear from me by then, assume the worst. And do what? Nothing. That's the whole point. If this fails, it never happened. I was never here. You never helped me. The mission doesn't exist. Quinn nodded slowly. Godspeed, Callahan. Save it for when I get back. She walked out into the night without looking back. The insertion point was a small airfield 3 hours from the base. Emma drove in silence, her mind cycling through mission parameters, contingency plans, and the faces of the 8 people waiting for rescue. Sarah's face kept surfacing. Her laugh during training, her determination during the hardest evolutions, her promise that they would always have each other's backs. That promise had been made 4 years ago. Tonight, Emma would honor it. A figure emerged from the shadows as she parked. You look like hell. Emma turned. Marcus. Marcus Webb, not the lieutenant from the officers' club, but a different Marcus Webb, entirely stepped into the light. Former CIA. Former Phantom Unit 8. Currently off the grid and officially dead, according to every database that mattered. When Chen reached out, I thought it was a trap, Marcus said. Then she mentioned your name, and I knew it was something worse. A suicide mission. 8 people, Marcus, including Sarah. His expression shifted. Sarah's in there. You didn't know. Chen didn't give me details, just coordinates and a timeline. He ran a hand through his graying hair. Sarah Martinez. Damn. I trained that girl. We both did. Then we both get her out. Marcus checked his weapon. What's the plan? Emma pulled out a tablet and displayed the facility layout. Standard penetration is impossible. The first extraction team tried a direct approach and got burned within 3 kilometers of the perimeter. So we don't go direct. We go through the water. Emma pointed to a series of tunnels beneath the facility. 19th century drainage system, officially sealed, unofficially accessible if you know where to look. And you know where to look. I know someone who knows. Local contact. They'll meet us at the coast and guide us in. Marcus studied the layout. Even with tunnel access, we're looking at heavy resistance once we surface. Guards, cameras, security protocols that can lock down the entire facility in seconds. Which is why we don't surface until we're directly beneath the holding cells. And then we make a lot of noise and move very fast. Marcus was quiet for a moment. This is crazy. You know that, right? 2 operators against an entire facility. The odds are better than 0, which is what Sarah and the others have if we don't go. He nodded slowly. All right, let's do this. The flight took 6 hours. They traveled in a cargo plane that wasn't supposed to exist, piloted by people who would never acknowledge the trip. Emma used the time to sleep, forcing her body to rest, even as her mind raced with possibilities and contingencies. Marcus sat across from her, cleaning his weapon, with the methodical patience of someone who had done it 1,000 times before. You've changed, he said quietly, since the last time I saw you. Emma opened her eyes. How harder, more focused, like something burned away the softness and left only the steel. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. He set down his weapon. The girl I trained 4 years ago was brilliant but uncertain, always second-guessing herself, always worried about whether she belonged. And now you're sitting in a cargo plane heading into hostile territory planning to rescue 8 people against impossible odds, and you don't even seem scared. Emma considered his words. I'm terrified. You hide it well. That's the job. Feel everything, show nothing. She sat up straighter. Daniel taught me that, right before our first operation together. Torres was the best. Yes, he was. Marcus was quiet for a moment. I heard what happened. The PTSD, the memorial, the arrest afterward. The whole world heard about the arrest. The video went viral. Not the whole world. I've been dead for 3 years, remember, but word travels even in the shadows. He met her eyes. I also heard you handled it with grace. Didn't break cover. Didn't compromise the mission. Just stood there and took it until proper authority arrived. I followed protocol. You did more than that. You proved something. That the discipline we trained into you wasn't just technique, it was character. Marcus picked up his weapon again. That's why Chen called me. Not because you needed backup. Because she knew this mission was worth supporting. She called you because she didn't want me going in alone. Maybe. But she also knew I'd say yes the moment I heard your name. He smiled slightly. We're family Callahan. Not blood family. Something deeper. People who've walked through fire together don't forget each other. The plane began its descent. Emma gathered her equipment and moved to the jump position. Below them, nothing but darkness and ocean, and a coast that officially belonged to no one. Ready? Marcus asked. Ready. They jumped together into the night. The water was colder than Emma expected. She surfaced silently, her body automatically adjusting to the temperature, her mind cataloging surroundings and threats. Marcus emerged a few meters away, equally silent. They swam toward the coordinates Chen had provided. A small fishing boat waited in the darkness. A single figure stood at the bow. Emma Callahan. The voice was female, accented, familiar. Lena. Lena Volkov, former Russian intelligence, current freelance asset, permanent wildcard, helped them aboard with hands that showed no tremor despite the cold. When Admiral Chen contacted me, I thought it was a joke. The famous Emma Callahan needing my help. I need your knowledge. You grew up near this facility. I grew up in its shadow. My father helped build the drainage tunnels you plan to use. Lena's expression darkened. He also died in that facility, executed for asking too many questions. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be effective. Lena started the engine. The entrance is 2 kilometers up the coast. We have 3 hours before dawn. After that, boat traffic increases, and we become visible. The journey was tense and silent. Emma reviewed the extraction plan in her mind. Enter through the tunnels. Navigate to the holding cells. Neutralize guards. Extract the 8 captives. Exit before the entire facility locked down. Simple in theory. Deadly in execution. They reached the tunnel entrance as the first hint of gray touched the horizon. Lena led them through a maze of abandoned drainage pipes. The smell was overwhelming, decades of neglect and decay. But the path was clear, exactly as the intelligence had suggested. 50 meters to the access point, Lena whispered. After that, you're on your own. You're not coming. I got you in. Getting out is your problem. Lena pressed something into Emma's hand, a small device with a single button. Emergency beacon. Press this, and I'll have a boat at the south dock in 15 minutes. After that, you're swimming. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You haven't survived. Lena paused. And Callahan, my father was a good man. Whatever you do in there, make it count. She disappeared back the way they came. Marcus moved up beside Emma. Ready? One more thing. Emma pulled out her tablet and typed a rapid message. Letting Chen know we're in position. From here on, radio silence unless absolutely necessary. Understood. They moved forward. The access point opened into a maintenance corridor beneath the main facility. Emma led the way, her movements silent, despite the weight of her equipment. Marcus followed, covering their rear, with the practiced ease of someone who had done this countless times. The holding cells were on the third sublevel. Between them and the captives, 2 security checkpoints, an unknown number of guards, and a surveillance system that could alert the entire facility in seconds. Emma had a plan for all of it. The first checkpoint went down fast. 2 guards. Neither expected trouble from below. Neither had time to raise an alarm. Emma moved through them like water, her training taking over completely, her conscious mind, stepping back to let instinct and muscle memory do the work. Marcus handled the surveillance feeds, looping camera footage to hide their approach. "Second checkpoint in 30 meters, he whispered. "How many are you for? Maybe 5. They're rotating. Wait for my signal." Emma moved forward alone. She needed the guards separated, distracted, vulnerable. She needed them to make a mistake. They did. One guard stepped away from his post to check a noise a pebble Emma had thrown into a side corridor. She took him silently. The others noticed his absence too late. 30 seconds. 4 guards down. No alarms. Marcus caught up with her, breathing hard. That was impressive. That was necessary. They reached the holding cells at 0347. The door was reinforced steel, biometrically locked, monitored by 3 separate alarm systems. Breaking through would trigger every security protocol in the facility. Emma didn't break through. She had something better. A security card taken from one of the guards, a fingerprint preserved on a piece of tape, a retinal scan bypassed by a device Quinn had provided. The door opened silently. Inside, 8 figures looked up with faces that showed the wear of captivity and the desperate hope of rescue. "Emma?" Sarah's voice cracked. "Oh my God. Emma. Save it for later. We need to move." She was already cutting restraints, helping people to their feet, assessing injuries and mobility. 2 of the captives could walk on their own. 3 needed support. The remaining 3, including Sarah, were injured but mobile. "Extraction route is through the tunnels," Emma said. "Same way we came in. Marcus takes point. I've got rear guard." "They'll know we're gone in minutes," one of the intelligence assets said. "The facility does cell checks every..." An alarm began to wail. "Faster than that." Emma pushed Sarah toward the door. "Move, now!" They ran. The return through the tunnels was a nightmare of noise and speed and terror. Emma heard pursuit behind them. Footsteps. Shouting. The sound of weapons being readied. The facility had woken up and it was angry. "Keep going," she shouted. "Don't stop for anything." Marcus led the group forward, while Emma dropped back to cover their retreat. The first pursuers appeared around a corner, and she dropped them with precise shots that echoed through the tunnel like thunder. "Emma!" Sarah screamed from up ahead. "I'm right behind you. More pursuers. More shots." Emma moved backward through the tunnel, fighting a retreating action that used every skill she had ever learned. One bullet caught her in the shoulder. The pain was immediate and blinding. She stumbled, caught herself, kept firing. The wound burned like acid, but she couldn't stop. Stopping meant dying. Dying meant failing. Failing meant 8 people going back to those cells. "Callahan," Marcus's voice. "Close now. We're at the exit." She turned and ran. The dawn light hit her face like a blessing as she emerged from the tunnel. The fishing boat was there, engine running, Lena at the wheel, shouting for them to hurry. The 8 captives scrambled aboard. Marcus hauled himself over the side. Emma was the last one out. A bullet caught her in the leg as she made the final sprint. She went down hard, her face hitting the dock, her vision blurring with pain and shock. "Emma." Sarah leaned over the boat's edge, reaching for her. "Go. Emma gasped. "I'll catch up." "Like hell." Sarah jumped back onto the dock. She grabbed Emma under the arms and dragged her toward the boat with strength that shouldn't have been possible for someone who'd been in captivity for weeks. "Don't you dare die on me," Sarah hissed. "Don't you dare!" Hands reached down from the boat, multiple people pulling them aboard. The engine roared. The dock fell away. Behind them, the facility erupted in chaos, alarms screaming, spotlights sweeping, boats launching in pursuit. But they were already gone, disappearing into the morning mist. 8 for 8. Emma lay on the boat's deck, staring up at the gray sky, feeling blood leak from wounds that should have been fatal. Sarah knelt beside her, pressing cloth against the injuries, crying and cursing and begging her to hold on. "Stay with me," Sarah pleaded. "Emma, stay with me. I'm here. You're an idiot. A complete idiot. You should have stayed home. Should have let someone else. There wasn't anyone else." Emma managed a weak smile. "Just me. Just us. Just Phantom 8. We're not Phantom anymore. We're always Phantom. That doesn't end." Emma's eyes started to close. "That never ends. Keep your eyes open, Emma. Emma." The world went dark. She dreamed of Daniel Torres. He was standing in a field of green, wearing civilian clothes instead of tactical gear, smiling that crooked smile she remembered from 100 missions. "You did good, kid. I got shot. Twice. You saved 8 people. The math works out. Am I dying?" Daniel considered the question. "That's up to you. You've got a choice. Rest here where it's peaceful, or go back where it's hard. Some choice. The hard ones always are." He moved closer. "You know what I learned all those years fighting the darkness? The mission never ends. It just changes form. You finish one operation and another one's waiting. You save one group of people and another group needs saving." That sounds exhausting. It is. But it's also meaningful. It's the only thing that matters, really. Being useful. Being needed. Being the person who answers when nobody else can. Emma looked at the peaceful field around them. "What if I'm tired?" "Then rest. But not forever. The world needs people like you. People who walk into fire. People who don't give up." Daniel's image began to fade. "I'm proud of you, Emma. Always have been. Always will be." "Daniel, wake up. They need you." She opened her eyes. The boat was gone. She was in a medical facility. Machines beeped. IV lines ran into her arm. Bandages covered her shoulder and leg. Sarah sat beside her bed, head bowed, hands clasped as if in prayer. "Sarah." Her friend's head snapped up. "Emma, oh thank God. You've been out for 3 days. 3 days. The others, everyone's safe. All 8 extracted. No casualties." Sarah's voice broke. "You did it. You actually did it." "We did it. All of us. No." Sarah shook her head fiercely. You came for us when no one else could. You walked into hell and pulled us out." Emma tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain lanced through her shoulder. "Easy." Sarah pressed her back gently. "You lost a lot of blood. The doctors say you're lucky to be alive." "Lucky? Their word, not mine. I think stubborn is more accurate." Despite everything, Emma laughed. It hurt, but it felt good. Admiral Chen arrived an hour later. Her face was drawn with exhaustion and something else. Something that looked like pride mixed with relief. "Petty Officer Callahan." "Admiral." Chen sat in the chair Sarah had vacated. 8 for 8. Complete success. 0 casualties. Do you have any idea how impossible that should have been? I had help. You had Marcus Webb, a former operative who's been dead for 3 years, and a Russian asset with a personal vendetta. That's not exactly a full tactical team. It was enough. Chen was quiet for a moment. The interview aired while you were in the field. 23 million viewers. The response has been overwhelming. Requests for follow-up interviews, offers from publishers, invitations to speak at military academies. I'm not interested in fame. I know, but fame found you anyway. Chen reached into her pocket and produced a small box. The Joint Special Operations Command wanted me to give you this. Unofficially, of course. Nothing about your service can be publicly acknowledged. She opened the box. Inside was a medal, the kind given for extraordinary valor, the kind that usually came with ceremonies and fanfare and public recognition. It's yours, even if the world can't know why. Emma stared at the medal. Such a small thing to represent so much sacrifice. What happens now? Now you recover. Months of physical therapy, psychological evaluation, the works. Chen closed the box and set it on the bedside table. And then, when you're ready, we talk about what comes next. What comes next? That's up to you. You could retire. Really retire this time. Disappear into civilian life and never look back. Or you could do something new. Something that uses everything you've learned without putting you back in the field. Chen paused. I want you to help me train the next generation, female operators, young candidates, people who need someone to show them it's possible. Emma thought about Sarah Chen and Jessica Williams and Michelle Rodriguez, the 3 women fighting through Buddhas. She thought about all the young warriors who would come after them. All the people who needed to see proof that someone like them had made it through. I'll think about it. Take your time. You've earned that much. Chen stood to leave, then turned back. Emma, what you did going back and risking everything for 8 people, most of the world will never know existed. That's what service looks like. Real service. The kind that doesn't need applause or recognition. The kind that just does what needs doing because it needs doing. Daniel taught me that. Torres taught you the foundation. You built the rest yourself. Wen Chen's voice softened. Rest now. Heal. And when you're ready, we'll figure out what comes next together. She left. Emma lay in the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened since that night at the officers' club. The arrest. The revelation. The interview, the mission. And despite all of it, the pain, the fear, the wounds that would scar, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not the peace of giving up, not the peace of walking away, the peace of knowing exactly who she was and what she was meant to do. The watch continued. And Emma Callahan was ready for whatever came next. Recovery was slower than Emma expected. The bullet wounds healed in weeks. The physical therapy took months. But the hardest part wasn't the body. It was the mind. She woke up screaming 3 times in the first week. Nightmares of tunnels and gunfire, and the feeling of blood leaving her body faster than she could replace it. Sarah stayed with her through the worst of it, sleeping in a chair beside her bed, ready to pull her back to reality when the darkness got too close. You don't have to do this, Emma said on the 4th night. You went through hell too. You should be recovering, not watching me fall apart. We went through hell together. We recover together. Sarah's voice left no room for argument. That's how Phantom works. That's how we work. Phantom doesn't exist anymore. Phantom will always exist, in here. Sarah tapped her chest. In everyone who served with us. In everyone who knows what we sacrificed. She paused. And in everyone who's going to come after us. Emma stared at the ceiling. Chen wants me to train them. The next generation. I know. She asked me too. What did you tell her? I told her I'd think about it, after I made sure you didn't die in your sleep from stubbornness. Sarah almost smiled. What are you going to tell her? Emma didn't answer. She wasn't ready to answer. 2 months later, she walked for the first time without assistance. The physical therapist, a former army medic named Rodriguez, who had seen too many wounded operators to be impressed by anything, watched her cross the rehabilitation center with arms crossed and expression neutral. Not bad. Not bad. That's it. You want a parade, a gold star. Rodriguez shook his head. You took 2 bullets and nearly died. Now you're walking. That's the job. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not very encouraging. Encouragement is for people who need it. You don't. He handed her a cane she didn't want. Use this for another week. Then we talk about running. I hate running. Everyone hates running. That's why it works. Emma took the cane and limped toward the exit. Admiral Chen was waiting outside. You look better. I look like someone who got shot twice and spent 2 months in a hospital bed. That's better than someone who got shot twice and didn't make it to a hospital bed. Chen fell into step beside her. Walk with me. They moved slowly through the base. Emma's cane clicking against the pavement with each step. The sound was a reminder of everything she'd lost and everything she'd gained. The mission results are in, Chen said. 8 extracted. No casualties. Complete success. I know. Sarah told me. What Sarah didn't tell you is the aftermath. Chen paused. The facility was shut down within a week. The government that ran it faced international pressure they couldn't deflect. 3 officials were arrested. 2 more resigned. And the people who were held there before us, some were released. Others... Chen's expression darkened. We'll never know what happened to all of them. But the operation exposed enough that the world couldn't ignore it anymore. Emma absorbed this in silence. 8 lives saved. A facility destroyed. A system exposed. Was it worth the scars she would carry forever? Yes, she said aloud. Chen looked at her. I didn't ask a question. You didn't have to. They walked in silence for another minute. I've been thinking about your offer, Emma said finally. The training position. And I want to do it, but not the way you described. Chen's eyebrow rose. Explain. You want me to be an advisor, someone who watches from the sidelines and gives feedback. That's not enough. Emma stopped walking and turned to face the Admiral. I want to be in the field with them, not as an observer, as a trainer. Someone who goes through the evolutions alongside them, shows them what's possible, pushes them harder than anyone else ever has. That's dangerous. Your injuries, my injuries are healing, and the candidates need more than advice. They need proof. Living, breathing proof that someone like them made it through and came out stronger. Chen studied her for a long moment. You're asking me to put a wounded operator back in a training environment, an environment designed to break people. I'm asking you to put a survivor back where she belongs, doing the work that matters. And if it breaks you again... Emma thought about Daniel Torres, about the weight he'd carried and the way it had finally crushed him, about the promise she'd made to herself that she would find another way to bear the burden. It won't break me, because this time I'm not alone. She met Chen's eyes. This time I have something to fight for beyond the mission. What's that? The future. Every young woman who looks at special operations and wonders if it's possible for someone like her. Every candidate who faces discrimination and doubt and assumptions about what they can't do. Emma's voice strengthened. I want to show them what I wish someone had shown me, that the impossible is just a word people use when they're afraid to try." Chen was quiet for a long time. "All right," she said finally. "You start next month, but you follow medical protocols. You don't push beyond what your body can handle, and you report any complications immediately." "Yes, ma'am." "And Emma," Chen allowed herself a rare smile, "don't make me regret this." Training began in April. 3 female candidates remained in the Buds pipeline. Sarah Chen, Jessica Williams, and Michelle Rodriguez had survived first phase against all odds. Now they faced the brutal second phase, where many candidates, male and female alike, finally broke. Emma arrived at the training facility on a morning that felt like every other morning. Gray sky, cold air, the distant sound of waves crashing against the Coronado shore. The 3 candidates stood at attention when she approached. Their faces showed the wear of weeks of punishment bruises, scrapes, the hollow look of people who had pushed beyond exhaustion so many times it had become their new normal. At ease. They relaxed slightly but kept their eyes on her. "You know who I am. You've seen the interview. You've heard the stories." Emma walked slowly in front of them. "What you don't know is what comes next. And that's what I'm here to show you." "Ma'am," Sarah Chen, no relation to the Admiral, spoke up. "We thought you were still recovering." "I am. Every day I recover a little more, and every day I get a little stronger." Emma stopped in front of her. "That's the lesson. Recovery isn't waiting for the pain to end. It's moving forward while the pain continues." "Is that what you did after the mission?" "That's what I've done my whole life, after my parents died, after Phantom 8, after the arrests and the accusations and the wounds." Emma met each of their eyes in turn. "The world will try to break you. Sometimes it will succeed. But breaking isn't the end. It's just another beginning." "How do we know when we're ready?" Jessica asked. "Ready for the real thing." "You're never ready, not completely. The mission comes whether you're prepared or not. What matters is that you answer when it calls." She spent the next 4 months in the field with them, not watching from a distance, not offering advice from the safety of an office. She was there in the water, in the sand, in the grinding physical torment that Buds demanded. Her injuries limited her. She couldn't run as fast, couldn't carry as much, couldn't push as hard as she once could. But what she could do was enough. She showed them what endurance looked like. She demonstrated the mental tricks that got you through impossible moments. She shared the hard-won wisdom of someone who had been where they were going and survived. And slowly, day by day, they transformed. Sarah Chen developed a quiet confidence that replaced her earlier uncertainty. Jessica Williams discovered reserves of strength she hadn't known existed. Michelle Rodriguez stopped questioning whether she belonged and started acting like she'd always been there. The male candidates watched with mixed reactions. Some resented the female integration, others recognized capability when they saw it. A few approached Emma privately to ask questions, seeking insight into what made these 3 women so formidable. "They're not special," Emma told one of them, a young petty officer named Jackson, who reminded her of someone she'd once known. "They're just unwilling to quit." "With respect, ma'am, I've seen a lot of people who were unwilling to quit. Most of them still washed out." Did they just find a limit and decide that was far enough? Jackson considered this. "What's the difference?" "The difference is that these 3 don't believe in limits. Every time they hit a wall, they don't stop. They find a way through, over, or around, and then they keep going." "You think they'll make it?" Emma looked across the training ground, where Sarah, Jessica, and Michelle were finishing a log PT evolution that had already broken 2 male candidates that morning. I think they'll do more than make it. I think they'll change everything. Graduation day came in September. The ceremony was small by military standards. No cameras, no media coverage, just a group of operators who had earned their place and the instructors who had forged them in fire. Emma stood in the back, watching as 3 women received their SEAL tridents. Sarah Chen, first in her class for physical fitness, first in her class for tactical performance, first woman to complete BUDS without a single remedial evolution. Jessica Williams, top scores in weapons qualification, commended for leadership under pressure, selected for advanced training immediately upon graduation. Michelle Rodriguez, overcame a stress fracture in week 5 to finish stronger than anyone expected. Commended for mental resilience, already receiving interest from Tier 1 units. They stood together at the front of the room, new tridents gleaming on their chests, faces showing the peculiar mix of exhaustion and triumph that only those who'd been through hell could understand. Admiral Chen approached the podium. Today marks a milestone, not just for these graduates, but for naval special warfare itself. These 3 women have proven what we always knew, but struggled to demonstrate. That capability has no gender, that excellence knows no boundaries, that the human spirit, when properly trained and relentlessly committed, can achieve things that seem impossible. She paused, her eyes finding Emma in the back of the room. But they didn't do this alone. They had guidance. They had mentorship. They had someone who walked beside them every step of the way, showing them what was possible because she had lived it herself. Emma felt the weight of every eye in the room turning toward her. Petty Officer First Class Emma Callahan could not receive public recognition for her service. Her operations remain classified. Her sacrifices remain unknown to all but a handful of people. But today, I can acknowledge this much. She is the reason these 3 women stand before you. She is the proof they needed. She is the future she predicted. After the ceremony, Sarah Chen found Emma outside. "You're leaving, aren't you?" Emma didn't deny it. "My work here is done. You 3 are ready. The ones who come after you will be ready because of what you've shown them." "What about you? What comes next?" "I don't know. For the first time in my life, I genuinely don't know." Emma smiled slightly. "It's terrifying, and also kind of wonderful." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "You know, when I started this, I thought the hardest part would be the physical training, the pain, the exhaustion, all of that. And now I know the hardest part is what comes after. Living up to what you've earned, carrying the weight of what you know, being the person others expect you to be." Sarah met her eyes. "How do you do it?" Emma thought about Daniel Torres, about the weight that had finally crushed him, about her own struggles with the darkness and the demons that never fully went away. One day at a time, one choice at a time, one moment of deciding that the mission matters more than the pain. She paused. "And by remembering that you're not alone, even when it feels like you are. The phantom way, the only way that works." They embraced the mentor and the student, the veteran and the new warrior. "Thank you," Sarah whispered, "for everything. Thank me by being better than I was, by going further than I went, by showing the next generation that they can go further than you. I will. I know." Emma walked away from the training facility for the last time. Her phone buzzed. A message from Marcus Webb. Heard the graduation went well. Drinks tonight. She smiled and typed back. Where, same bar, where it all started. Seems fitting. The officers' club at Naval Base Norfolk was quieter than she remembered. A Friday night like any other. Officers unwinding after long weeks. Families gathered for casual dinners. The hum of conversation and the clink of glasses creating a backdrop of normalcy. Emma entered alone. She wore civilian clothes, jeans, and a gray t-shirt. No dog tags. No challenge coin. Nothing to mark her as anything other than what she appeared to be. Marcus waited at a corner table, 2 beers already ordered. You look good. I look tired. Same thing in our business. He slid a beer toward her. To impossible missions and impossible people. They clinked glasses. I heard about the graduation, Marcus said. 3 women. All 3 made it. That's never happened before. It'll happen again. Now that it's proven possible, more will follow. Because of what you did. Because of what they did. I just showed them the door. They walked through it on their own. Marcus leaned back in his chair. What's next for you? Chen mentioned something about an advisory position. I'm done with advisory positions. Done with training. Done with all of it. Emma took a long drink. At least for now. So what then? I'm going to disappear for a while, figure out who I am when I'm not being an operator or a trainer or a symbol. She set down her glass. I'm 21 years old, Marcus. I've been doing this since I was 14. I don't even know what normal looks like. Normal is overrated. Maybe, but I'd like to find out for myself. The door opened behind them. Emma's instincts cataloged the new arrival automatically, threat assessment positioning potential vulnerabilities, old habits that would never completely die. But instead of a threat, she saw Helen Torres. Daniel's mother approached their table slowly, her silver hair catching the light, her expression soft with emotion. I hoped I'd find you here. Emma stood. Mrs. Torres. Helen, please. The older woman took her hands. I heard about what you did. The mission, the graduates, all of it. How did you... Admiral Chen keeps me informed. She knows how much it matters to me, how much Daniel's legacy matters. Helen's eyes glistened. He would be so proud of you, Emma. So incredibly proud. I think about him every day. I know you do. That's why I wanted to give you something. Helen reached into her purse and pulled out a small box. This was Daniel's. He wore it every day until he couldn't wear it anymore. Emma opened the box. Inside was a simple silver chain with a small charm attached. The charm was engraved with words she recognized from Daniel's favorite saying. The only easy day was yesterday. He wanted you to have it, Helen said. He told me before he died that if anything happened to him, I should find you and give you this. He knew. He always knew. Helen's voice cracked. He said you were the one who would carry on, the one who would make it all mean something. Emma clutched the chain, feeling the cool metal against her palm, feeling the weight of everything it represented. I don't know if I deserve this. You don't have to deserve it. You just have to wear it. And remember. Helen touched her cheek gently. Remember that every sacrifice has a purpose. Every loss creates space for something new to grow. Every ending is also a beginning. Daniel used to say that. Where do you think I learned it? Helen smiled through her tears. Take care of yourself, Emma, and take care of the future he believed in. She left as quietly as she had arrived. Emma sat back down across from Marcus, the chain still in her hand. You okay? No. She put the chain around her neck, feeling it settle against her skin. But I will be. They finished their drinks in comfortable silence. When Emma finally stood to leave, Marcus caught her arm. Hey, whatever you do next, wherever you go, remember something for me. What? You're not alone anymore. You never were. You just couldn't see it. He released her arm. The watch continues. But it doesn't have to be a solitary thing. We carry it together. Emma nodded once. Then she walked out into the night. 6 months later, a letter arrived at Admiral Chen's office. The return address was a small town in Montana, the kind of place where people went when they wanted to disappear. Chen opened it with steady hands and read the contents slowly. Admiral, I'm writing to let you know I'm okay. More than okay, actually. I'm healing in ways I didn't know I needed to heal. I've been thinking about everything that happened. The accusations at the officers' club, the arrest, the revelation, the mission, the training, all of it. For so long I defined myself by what I could do, by the missions I completed, by the people I saved, by the weight I carried. I'm learning to define myself differently now, by who I am, by what I believe, by the quiet moments that don't require sacrifice or suffering. Daniel Torres taught me how to be a warrior. You taught me how to be a leader. But I'm teaching myself how to be a person. I'm not done serving. I don't think I ever will be. But right now I'm learning to live, not just survive. Live. The 3 graduates are doing well. I keep in touch with Sarah. She tells me about the new candidates coming through, about the walls that are falling, about the doors that are opening. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of all of it. And for the first time in my life, I'm proud of myself, too. The watch continues. It always will. But I'm finally ready to carry it with joy instead of just duty. Thank you for everything, Admiral. For believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. For giving me the chance to become something more than I ever imagined. The mission isn't over. It's just changing form. Semper Fidelis. Emma Callahan. Chen set the letter down and looked out her window at the base she had commanded for 15 years. Somewhere out there, a 21-year-old woman was finally learning to live. A future she had sacrificed everything to protect was unfolding. A new generation of warriors was rising. And in the shadows, the work continued. Not just at Naval Special Warfare Command. Not just in the classified operations that would never see the light of day. But in the hearts of every young woman who looked at someone like Emma Callahan and saw not a limitation, but a possibility. The door was open now, and it would never close again. Because Emma Callahan had proven what Daniel Torres always believed. What Admiral Chen had fought her whole career to demonstrate. What countless warriors before them had sacrificed everything to establish. That strength has no age. That courage has no gender. That the human spirit, when pushed beyond all reasonable limits, can accomplish things that rewrite the rules of what's possible. The watch continued. The mission endured. And somewhere in Montana, a young woman wore a silver chain around her neck and smiled at the sunrise. Not because the darkness was gone, but because she had learned to carry the light. Some stories don't end with victory parades or public recognition. Some heroes never receive the medals they've earned. Some sacrifices remain forever invisible to the world that benefits from them. But the work matters. The service counts. The legacy lives on in everyone who comes after. Emma Callahan walked into an officers' club one night and was arrested for impersonating a SEAL. She walked out as living proof that the impossible is just a word, and that warriors are made not by how they look or how old they are, but by how they answer when duty calls. The watch never ends. And there will always be someone ready to answer. Always.